It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Good morning and welcome to another episode of Cameras, Nikon FE2. I'm going to talk about this today. And coffee. I've got Acre 1080. So I want to talk about my Nikon FE2. I've had this since 1985-86, and I shot, I don't even know how many rolls of film with it over the years. Everything from air shows, portraits, backpacking in the Sierras, you name it, I've shot it with this. The red filter that you see is what I'm using for all my black and white images. Better contrast, darker skies, just something that I always like to shoot with. And even to this day, when I shoot with my Fuji and I'm doing black and white, I have the the digital filter with the red filter on it for black and white. So it's an effect that I love and that I've carried over into my digital photography. On the top, you have a lot like the Fuji. You've got an ISO across the top up here with exposure compensation. You also have the shutter speed, which is right here. Obviously the winder, and then, to take a picture, just press that button. And then it's got a 50mm lens, and I also have a 70 to 210 that I use on this camera. I've got a tap and die leather strap. I love tap and die. Their products are amazing. Their leather is just top quality, and I have several of their products as well as some pins and patches. Keeping film alive is one of their mottos on the patches. So so tap and die strap, love it. This camera's a tank. I had it refurbished and it's been working pretty much flawlessly. I change out the batteries on a regular basis. Batteries last about a year and they go in the bottom. There is a light meter on through the viewfinder, and you basically just line up the light meter with the aperture or shutter speed. So as you adjust aperture and shutter speed, it will move the light meter and tell you whether you've got a good exposure or not. And I've learned over the years kind of how to adjust with that and to get the effects that I like. It also has the ability to do a double exposure. I don't know if you can see it, but on the winder there's a little switch that you can cock the shutter without advancing the film, so you can do a double exposure. This also goes to 4,000th of a second for shutter speed. Most of the cameras of this time by Nikon were 2,000th of a second, I believe. So it was actually a big deal, and this one had 4,000th of a second. I've done flash photography with this. There really isn't much that I haven't done with this, and I have boxes and binders full of negatives that I haven't even scanned. I'm embarrassed to say I need to break those out and scan them and share those with you. You can go to another episode, 36 exposures, to see images that I've created with this camera. I'll put a couple here that are my favorites from that shoot. I've got another roll that I'm sending out to the lab this week of T-Max, Kodak T-Max. And then I've got another roll of HP5 that I've got in it right now. Just an amazing camera. It's fun to use if you're interested in getting into film photography. This is a great camera. This and the Canon AE1 were around the same time. Just tanks of a camera. They'll kind of teach you all the basics as you learn and grow with film photography. Just learning aperture, shutter speed, ISO, the exposure triangle. For me, I'm really glad that I shot film for as many years as I did. It really taught me the basics that carry over to my digital photography, and I really don't have to think about settings that much. I don't have to worry about being in manual. It's pretty much automatic for me. When I look at a setting, I can kind of tell what the settings need to be, or pretty close. And the nice thing with the Fuji is that all the dials and everything, the aperture ring, are all in the same place as my Nikon FE2. So it was a natural progression to move on to Fuji. Some people have me thinking about shooting full frame, and that Fuji doesn't offer full frame, but that's a whole other conversation for another morning. So hopefully you've enjoyed this ramble and talking about my favorite camera of all time. I'll go that far, and this will be the camera that goes with me to the grave. I'll probably leave it to my kids, obviously, but this is going to be something I'm going to shoot basically forever. And yeah, it's basically part of me and an old friend. So, until next time, take care.